Hi, how are you?
Hey, how's everything going?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good.
Great to hear. All right, I'm just gonna get the tech stuff set up here.
Okay. How's your Monday been so far? It's Monday.
Honestly, good. We have a big snowstorm hitting Boston, so classes have been
Oh,
canceled tomorrow. All right, should be almost all set. I'm gonna wait till it hits 6 to let people in.
all right.
All right, we'll give it another minute or two as people are filing in. All right, I think I'm gonna keep an eye on people coming in, but we can get started. So I'm going to hit record.
Recording in progress.
Right, just one moment. All right. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Happy Bean Pot Finals Day. Thank you so much for joining us for this very exciting discussion and Q&A today. My name is Fiona, and I am the president of the Student Alliance for Prison Reform, and we are joined today by a very special guest. He is a national speaker, author, reentry consultant, and Master Certified Empowerment Coach. He is also the founder of On the Inside Reentry Academy and uses his journey as a formerly incarcerated individual to inspire those facing similar struggles. And we are thrilled to have him joining us today. So please give a warm welcome to Colonel Sims. Mr. Sims, thank you so much for joining us.
I appreciate you all having me. Thank you for having me on.
Very awesome. First, can you please tell us a bit about yourself and your journey?
Yeah, as you said, I'm a reentry consultant, a reentry peer support specialist, entrepreneur, author, national speaker. Didn't think I was going to be all those things 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but that's the path that my journey has allowed me to do. I grew up in a impoverished neighborhood. My mother was 16 years old when she had me. I have an older sister that she had 2 weeks prior to her 14th birthday. So I grew up under a young mother who was still actually a teenager who was still trying to figure out life herself and raise some children. By the time I was a teenager, I was involved in gangs. I got involved in gangs, and then I caught my first attempted murder case at 15 years old. Because I could play basketball, I was into sports too at the time. So because I could play basketball, I had coaches come speak on my behalf, explaining the situation with my mother was on drugs at the time, and just explaining our household. So I got put into one foster home. Well, I went to juvenile detention center for a while. Then I got put into one foster home, and it just didn't work out. Just wasn't fit for me at the time. And so I got put in another foster home. During this period, I was on probation. I had a stipulation that I had to graduate high school. So I ended up graduating high school with a basketball scholarship, and I moved back home and gotten right back into the gangs and stuff like that. So during my college career, I was somewhat living like a double life. I was playing basketball, but I was selling drugs and gang banging and doing all kind of other stuff that your average student athlete shouldn't be doing or is doing. So once my senior year came, my final basketball game was over with. I dropped out of school and I was just full-fledged in the streets and into gangs. I caught my first drug case. I ended up getting probation because of my education. As soon as I was released out the county jail on probation, I went right back to the same neighborhood, same block. Got back to doing the same thing. And I caught another drug and gun case. I went to trial. I lost in trial and I got sentenced to 19 years in the Missouri Department of Corrections. I was 23 years old with a 19-year sentence, and the prison that I walked into, the name of it was called The Walls. Nickname was the bloodiest 48 acres. It was an old prison. When I walked in there, it had a sign on the wall. When you go and receive and you get your clothing and all that, it had a sign on the wall that said, "Leave all your hopes and dreams behind." So that's kind of what I did at 23 years old with a 19-year sentence in one of the country's most deadly prisons. Luckily, that prison was on the verge of shutting down, and so we got shipped to other prisons and things like that. And in the middle of me doing my prison time, a Senate bill passed to cut one of the mandatory minimums that I lost in trial on in half. So I was up for immediate parole. But I wasn't doing nothing with the time that I was incarcerated, but playing basketball, fighting. I got stabbed, a lot of different things. I was just what we call gelling. I was just gelling. And when I was up for parole, I ain't have nothing to show what I was doing, anything positive. So they was like, "Mr. Sims, you got a few more years with us." And they asked me what did I think about institutional behavior and drug treatment. And I told them I'd take it because my criminal thoughts knew that the sooner I get into the treatment program, the quicker I get released. So if my out date was 5 years away and I got in the treatment program within a year and a half, as soon as I do the treatment program for 6 months, I can get released. So that was kind of like a 3-year play. And so I was like, yeah, I'll take the treatment. And so they sent me to the treatment. I got out, went right back to the same neighborhood, same block, same gang, started selling the same drugs. Caught another drug case within a year and a half that I got out of prison. My parole got violated because of the new case, and I was fighting that case while in prison. I ended up beating that case on the technicality. I was released from prison after a couple of years, went right back to the same neighborhood, same block. And this time when I got out, it was a gang war. Some people got shot, some people got killed. And because I wasn't the only person from my neighborhood and my block that was out there selling drugs and gang banging, I got violated and sent back to prison for association. And so, sent back to prison for another couple of years. I get out, same neighborhood, same block, doing the same thing. I know y'all like, man, that's crazy. But yeah, I didn't. That was what I knew. I felt like at the time, this was what I used to tell myself, this is only life for me. And so I went back and did the same thing. And then within 2 years, the federal government came and picked me and 31 other people up for conspiracy charges, gang activity, it's just a lot of different charges. And I was standing in the federal courtroom and they handed me the indictment paper. And I really wasn't concerned with the time that it had on there. What caught my attention was at the top of the paper it said the United States of America versus Cardell Sims. And so I'm 34, 35 at the time. I just spent all my 20s almost in and out of prison. Here it is, I was in my 30s, and I'm like, man, something got to change. Why do you keep finding yourself in these situations? And the only answer I came up with was I put myself in these situations. So from that point on, I kind of made like a silent oath to myself that I'd be better whenever I got released from prison than I was standing there that day. And only thing I had to do that was books. So I just started reading all type of different books. I was used to reading the urban novels, and I just started reading them, and I just started reading Knowledge Itself, Science Itself, How to Hustle to Win. It was books, psychology, and goal setting books. Them most of everything self-help books. And I just started reading and taking notes, And when I was in Leavenworth Penitentiary, they had a class called Consciousness and Success. And in the class, it taught me about vision boards and affirmations. So I applied them two things to my daily regimen, and I started designing what I wanted my life to look like once I got out of prison. I knew I wanted to be a speaker. I knew I wanted to be a coach. I knew I wanted to be a business owner. So I didn't know anything about these particular things, but every day I woke up, after I said an affirmation, after I showed gratitude for being blessed with another day, I would start learning about them things, how to start a business, different business structure. I would have people send me in the paperwork. I would work on filling the paperwork out. Same thing with speaking, same how to be a life coach, all these different things. So once I was released, I had the vision board, I had the goals, and I just stuck to the goals all the way up to this point. I've been out 6 years. So what I built, how far I came, I built really in 6 years. In the reentry field, I really built in 3 years. Because when I first started coaching and thing, I was just doing regular life coaching and speaking. And then when COVID hit, one of my mentors challenged me to write a book about my life. And I wrote a book and called it Made the Inspiration, and it did real good. And it put me in my lane as far as coaching and where I really belong and my purpose. And so from that point on, I just been grinding real hard, real heavy in the reentry field. I run programs inside of prisons. I run a physical program inside one of the prisons that I used to be in. I run a program there, and then I run virtual programs across the country and also do workshops across the country in different institutions and prisons.
Wow. Your journey is really, really powerful, I think. What do you think makes a reentry successful? Is it just not going back, or is there more to it?
It's not. It's more to not just going back. The first thing is what makes reentry successful is you have reentry starting on the inside. That's why I named my reentry academy On the Inside Reentry Academy, because I know for a fact reentry starts on the inside of prison and of self. You can't wait till somebody gets out of prison to get to talk about, yeah, let me help you help you reenter. That I'm already out here now. It's ball game. It's you know what I'm saying. So starting on the inside is kind of like you practicing, preparing for the actual game. So whether it's a vocational skill someone could pick up, a trade, a technical skill, some personal development courses, mental health courses, especially mental health, because you're looking at the statistics. At least 80 to 85% of those incarcerated are dealing with some adverse childhood experiences that led to trauma, and it might have led to the cycle of behavior that leads them to prison, or it might have led to the drug and alcohol abuse that led them to prison. And so it's just many different things, but the main thing is starting that preparation for their release while they're incarcerated and not once being released trying to get them ready.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you explain a little bit how empowerment and personal growth are central to that successful reentry experience?
Yeah, I think the empowerment and personal growth, like what we do with the workshops when we come in, everyone on my team is formerly incarcerated. So when we go in to do a full day workshop and empowerment workshops, for one, they're seeing that it's possible. Like we go in there and show them the possibility of life after incarceration that you don't see on TV or that you don't hear about, that you know, we bring the hope. But we also teach the empowerment and personal development because it starts with self. Like you have to challenge some, it might be some beliefs that you've been told all your life. Like I had a belief I was a product of my environment. And so even having that belief running in and out of prison, like this is the type of environment I belong in. So then personally, you have to dig deep within yourself and find those beliefs that you might have to challenge. Start understanding your values and then aligning what's important to you and having self expectations for self is a big one. But a lot of guys that I've been incarcerated with, including myself, our only expectation was to get out and go back to the block. That's all, you know, sitting in the yard and talk about, well, I can't wait till we get back out on the block and all that. And that's the only expectation. So when you start prioritizing yourself, start valuing yourself, and start challenging a lot of them beliefs, you begin to start working on self and start building confidence. You know what I'm saying? Utilizing goal setting and things of that nature. But personal development and empowerment are the biggest thing, because if someone don't have the confidence and doesn't have someone showing them the way or can look and say, oh yeah, he did it, then most likely they get out and return, because it's kind of just like I was. I was on the inside. I wasn't working on myself, and I didn't have nobody to really look up to and say, oh man, he got out of prison and changed his life around.
Yeah, so kind of going off of that, did you have a coach or a mentor to guide you through this process during your time? And, you know, why is it so important that someone does have a coach or a mentor?
Oh, this last time I got out of prison, I didn't. At first, I didn't have for about like a year. So my coach and mentors came off watching YouTube videos, Instagram. I don't know if any of y'all, Eric Thomas, motivational speakers, Les Brown. Them were secretly my mentor without them knowing, because I used to wake up and watch them every day because I didn't have a one-on-one mentor. Gary V, these type of people that my interest was in. So listening to them and watching what they was doing and information they was giving out through Instagram allowed me to start taking certain steps and then getting in circles to where I was able to find me a mentor. That was probably like a year and a half after I was out. I got my first mentor, and it was great because he showed me that I can build my own reentry program and get inside the institutions without having to going through the base programs that been in institutions for 30 years that haven't made an impact. Kind of like, you know, what they say, the gatekeepers. So he showed me that I didn't have to go through the gatekeepers, that I can build my own program. I was just going to have to work hard on getting it in there. And he was formerly incarcerated, successful, #1 in the field. And so I learned a lot of things when it came to building programs. And when I started having meetings with commissioners and wardens and all these different correctional institutions, he guided me through that process. And it was important because I probably could have fumbled the bag without him.
Yeah, we'd love to hear more about, you know, what does your program look like, and are there any specific, you know, success stories or memorable experiences that you have from it?
Yeah, my program, I got many different programs under the academy. I got an entrepreneurship playbook program, which is a 12-week program. I have a communicating your story through writing and speaking, which is a 1-year program. My personal development is a 6-month program. And then I have a mindset shift program, which is a 6-month program. But the biggest thing about my program is anyone who's in my program get my mentorship from that point on out. When they get released, or a lot of people that might finish my program, they might not go home directly. So I'm able to still mentor them through the email system, phone calls, and things like that. Like, to me, that's the biggest thing, because having that mentor is one of the most crucial things when getting released from prison. Having someone that can, you're going to run across some things that they may have navigate, and they can teach you how to navigate. And it's not an authoritative figure like a PO or a case manager and things like that. So you're going to be able to talk about some things and get personal with them that they might not bring to the table when it comes to the PO, with the fear of possibly having some kind of, maybe getting locked up, or consequences, or things of that nature. You just don't want to have a bad relationship with your PO. And so my program, like I said, personal development is my biggest program, because that's where I get my most signups. And we go through everything from beliefs, values, needs, resilience, personality tests, your learning style. We do a lot of assessments, and we really dig in on who you are and understanding who you are and how it relates to everything when it comes to your reentry, even in the job field. One of the stigmas is, and they want people come out of prison and just take any jobs. And that's what they've been telling us for years. You just need to get out and just get a job. But what happens is, when you take a job that doesn't fit your personality, doesn't fit who you are, you're subject to not be there that long. And once you quit the job, now you're subject to go back to committing crimes or a criminal act, because it's already hard to find a job. And so you got to find it. I always tell people in my class, you got to find a job that fits your personality. Like, when I got out of prison, I knew I couldn't work. I knew I wasn't going to be able to last long if I got out and went and found me a job in a factory. For one, I'm ADHD. I can't be standing on no line all day for no 8 hours. It just ain't going to work. I got to move around, and so that was going to be a failure to me, because if I had to go and do that every day, all day, no matter how hard I want to stay out of jail and stuff like that, it just wasn't going to work. It's just, I would have quit. And so when they handed me a list, when I got to the halfway house, all the jobs was factory jobs. Now remember, I got a vision. I'm trying to be a speaker. I'm trying to do these things. But every job is factory except for one job. And it was the lowest paying job on there, but it was a telemarketing job. It fit me perfect. It helped me learn how to become a better speaker. I had to learn how to read scripts and things like that. Before we went to work, they had meetings. They were doing affirmations. So the whole overall environment was for me, even though it was the lower paying job. So I teach that to my class, like, make sure you find a job that fits your personality. And in my class, I teach them to dream big. Like, whatever your dream is and what you really want to do, put it on your vision board, because we do vision boards. So put it on your vision board. I don't want you to say you can't do it because of this. And I bring in, so in my personal development class, I bring in 2 successful formerly incarcerated people in a month, either virtually or physically. Reason why I do that in that class is to continue to pump in their face and show them, the successful formerly incarcerated people, that you can go out there and be successful. So by the time you finish that class, you done seen 12 to 15 successful formerly incarcerated people, and they done gave you information on how they did it. And I think that's important, because it ties in with your reticular activating system. And so with them seeing it all the time, it becomes relevant. And now they got it don't be belief no more, right? It becomes faith. Belief is they think they can go out and possibly, do something the right way, to I know I can go out there. So from thinking to knowing. And that's the biggest thing that I take pride in, as far as my class, different others, bringing a constant flow of formerly incarcerated people who've been there, in there, and telling them and giving them the game of what it takes. And then on the flip side, as far as my success stories, oh man, I had some amazing success stories. One that stands out to me is Mr. Rufino. Mr. Rufino did 6 years in prison. And he was in the medical field, and he lost everything in the medical field. And thing he had on his vision board was he wanted to start his own painting company. By the time the class was over with, he had a logo ready for it. And now he got out July the 17th of 2023. And up to this date, I know for a fact that he's done about 40 painting jobs just in that time span, doing amazing work. He's going on the tour with me this year. That's one thing that I love too, that I offer is, if you're in my class or if we was on the tour, we came to your institution and you get out and you get under our mentorship and you're doing everything that you're supposed to do, we're going to put you on the tour to give you the opportunity to travel around to many different states in prisons to share your story and your journey and be the light as well. So Mr. Rufino is one of the ones that have been through the program that's going to be able to go on the tour. And then probably my biggest, the most I'm proud of is Mr. Walker, Mr. Carlton. Mr. Carlton did 31 years in prison. Just got out a year ago. So it's a whole new different world to him. 31 years, he didn't know how to operate the phone, save a number. He got anxiety trying to order food because for 31 years he'd been living off a menu. He knew what was served on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He knew that. So when it went time for him to go stand in line at a restaurant and look at the menu and order, he freaked out because he felt like he was holding up the line and holding up the waiter because he really didn't know what to choose because he never had to make them decisions for 31 years. So with with Carlton, we had to start from the very beginning. I connected him with the proper mental health experts and counselors that he need in therapy, and he was afraid of that. The biggest thing about with Carlton is he had to change everything about him because he was stone cold criminal. In my terms, he was he was stone cold gangster. So for him to transition from a stone cold gangster and doing 31 years to prison to a civilian, just the mindset and everything else is totally different. So not only did we have to start from the beginning as far as when it came to phone and things of that nature, we had to start from the beginning on the mindset and the transitioning into a criminal mindset into a civilian, and building confidence in him because he came out with excuses. I'm not going to want to be able to, I can't do this because I'm 54, 55, I'm a convicted felon. I can't go back to school because before I got incarcerated, I was trying to go to school and I owe some money and loan. I can't do this. A lot of that stuff that he can't. And then I had to stop him and say, I just want to know what you want to do. If it was laid out in front of you right now, what would you love to do? And he said he wanted to be an electrician and also in robotics. Highly intelligent. He knew everything, like he was telling me how the flying cars was designed and things like that. And so once we got past the phone and start setting these little goals for him to do, he started to get more confidence. Now, it's some things that happened that without me as a mentor would have drove Mr. Walker back to what he knew at the time. Because I was there to walk with him, so I put him in one halfway house because he came out with nothing. So he went to the halfway house. They did an audit on the halfway house. They shut that down, on the halfway house down. So now he has to we scrambling to find him some more places, beds, open up rooms or whatever. So if I wasn't there to help him with that, that could have sent him back. And then it was when he had gotten to the cooking class, then they came in there and shut it down. Like, it was a lot of things happening in this process of learning and starting over to where if I wouldn't have been beside him, he would have went back to prison. And I tell everybody in my classes, you have to trust the process. It's a process. And sometimes you don't really see the results because you run across the obstacles, but if you trust the process, it'll come out better in the end. That's why I had to keep telling Mr. Carlton, like, just trust the process, I'm telling you. And so I'm happy to say this month he got enrolled, he got his FAFSA cleared, he's enrolled in college, and he's starting his electrician school at the end of this month. Not only that, he found a STEM program there in the area that he can get involved with and start doing things in that way. And he's a whole nother different person when he's speaking. His mentality, like I was joking with him